All right, so here we are. I'm Fatty Kadir here with the Kanata on the Rocks, and we are joined today with Dr. Remi Pearl. How are you today?
Good, I'm great.
So to give you guys a little bit of understanding, Dr. Pearl here, she's a chiropractor. I've been actually a patient of hers for the last year and a half or so, and she does wonders. So I'm going to just let Dr. Remi talk a little bit more about who she is, why she does what she does, and the healing power that she has here.
Awesome. So, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Remi Pearl. I practice all over the city in Ottawa. You can find me in Hintonburg, at Restore Health and Wellness, in the Glebe, at Glebe Physio and Sport Med, and in Kanata as well at Flow Health and Performance. I also run mobility classes around the city where I help people improve their upper body mobility, lower body mobility, all sorts of things. You can catch me at the gym doing those classes at Bodies by Phil or in CrossFit Closer as well. So I'm kind of everywhere. My philosophy is kind of getting the patient to take control of their own health, and me kind of being there as like a guiding force to kind of help point people in the right direction.
And that you have been actually, you've been doing it really well, like especially as I mentioned, I'm one of your patients, and I have noticed some massive improvement, especially on my shoulder mobility,
Yeah.
where it was almost completely non-existent. And then now I'm able to do squats, overhead squats, snatches, all of that really cool stuff. So I wanted to kind of just dig in a little bit here, Dr. Pearl, just to understand from you a little bit, why did you get into becoming a chiropractor? Like what got you thinking that way?
So it's actually kind of a funny story. I don't have one of those, like, I always knew since I was like 4 years old that I wanted to be a chiro. But I went to Queen's University and did kinesiology, and they kind of point you along the path to either like physio, chiro, massage therapy. Some people become like doctors as well. So I kind of knew I wanted to do something in healthcare, but I wasn't sure like exactly what. So I actually applied to everything. And the deadline to accept chiro was first. So I ended up picking that. And I'm really glad that I did, because I think it offers me everything that I would have wanted in a career. It's very hands-on. I get to work in healthcare. I'm always up and doing things, not sitting at a desk, which I really like, because if you know me, I'm like the antsiest person ever.
Yeah. And that's always the sort of like the diddly thing that we have is when you're sitting down, the more you sit down, the worse it gets. Like, for example, I noticed when I was in IT, a lot of the times I'm like hunched over the whole time, and just like, it makes sense. You really got to get up and kind of move every now and then.
Exactly. So that's one of the biggest things that I see in my practice. So what's nice is I get to see like lots of different groups of people. So I see the desk workers, I see the athletes. I also work with the Ottawa Red Blacks. So I get to work with like professional sports as well, which is really cool.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
The Red Blacks, that's a big ticket in town for
so
sure.
I just joined the chiro team this year, so that's pretty exciting.
They've been doing really great actually for the season. So
Yeah,
glad to hear that you're supporting them.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. So Dr. Pearl, I just wanted to understand a little bit. You mentioned, you always keep saying this, motion is lotion. And it's kind of like, it's stuck in my head and I use it all the time now. Tell me a little bit more where it came from, why, and explain a little bit more, your thoughts behind it.
So I just wanted to empower my patients. I think that's really important, and let them know that what they do makes the biggest impact on their own health. Movement is the most important thing you can do, in my opinion. The more you move, the better you're going to feel. The more blood flow is going to come to an area, which will clear out any garbage byproducts that build up from either sitting for too long, sitting at your desk typing away, or standing in one position. So it's just kind of my philosophy that I always go by, because it just empowers patients to kind of take their own health into their own hands, which I really like.
Amazing. And just to, I always see you busy. I always see you with clients in, whether it's at the gym or here. What's sort of like, tell me a little bit about a time or a patient that you really, saw this massive improvement in, and how did it make you feel?
Yeah, so that's like the really fun part of my job, is I get to see patients like improve, either whether it be like a grandparent who wants to like play with their grandkids, who's like thrown out their back, So we'll like do a whole bunch of rehab, we'll acu, we'll get them really nice and strong, and then we'll get to see them like play with their grandkids and bend over and do stuff like that they didn't think they would be able to do. And then it comes on a bigger scale too. So like rehabbing someone from a surgery where when I first see them after their surgery, they're unable to move that body part. And then we start small and you make like little gains, and then eventually they're back lifting at the gym. So that's like really cool. That's probably a favorite part of my job, is just getting
it must be really rewarding.
Yeah, no, it really is.
Yeah. One thing that we've talked about a while back was, just kind of figuring out the areas that you need to improve and kind of setting a plan in motion. What would you suggest to the audience as far as like, hey, like I have a problem with this or that, and like what can they do to, improve or figure that out?
So I think my biggest challenge as a newer practitioner is just bringing people through the door. So what I would say is social media has really helped me. So if you're someone who's good at working on social media, that's a good way to bring people in. Also encouraging people to do Google reviews. Mm-hmm. Those are really helpful as well. And then just word of mouth. So don't be afraid to ask patients who've had success with you to refer you if they know anyone who's interested. Also just trying to get your name out there in the city, doing things like this, I guess.
That's amazing. And then that's the thing, it's all about, just setting kind of the groundwork to get where you need to be as a practitioner.
Yeah.
With that being said, what's your favorite part of the city that you like to operate in?
That's a tough question. I mean, I'm a Glebe girl through and through. I grew up in the Glebe. I went to Glebe High School, but now I've kind of branched out more to like Hintonburg area, which I really love. There's tons of good food spots. Shout out to Elmdale Tavern if you're an oyster lover. It's my favorite.
Let them know. We might have to interview them.
Yeah, seriously. There's tons of good coffee shops, vintage shops. I'm a really big like consignment shopper. So there's tons of stuff in the area there that I love. It's just like a really walkable place, which is really important to me, right?
Motion is lotion. Yeah, motion is lotion. That is your tagline for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
With that being said, tell me a little bit more about the other side of Dr. Remi. Like, what do you like to do? What activities would you like to kind of go on, and what fills your day?
Yeah, so I like to practice what I preach. So I try to get some sort of workout in every day, whether that be a workout at CrossFit Closer, which is the gym that we met at, or yoga. I like to do yoga at Soul Speak Studios, or even just going for like a really long walk. So if I don't get any form of physical activity that's like structured, then I like to just take myself for a walk, throw on a podcast. But also I like to keep my mind nice and fresh. So like I'm often reading or puzzling. I'm really into puzzles in the winter. Mm-hmm. That's my thing.
What about horseback riding? That's something that I noticed that you are into. But tell me a little bit more about that.
So I grew up show jumping as a kid. I started when I was 5, I think.
Oh wow, I wouldn't have never thought that.
Yeah,
for sure. It's amazing.
I feel like I don't really give off like horse girl energy, but yeah. So I started when I was 5, and then I rode all the way up until I went away for university. And then recently, like in the past year, I'm like getting back into it, which is a really fun but humbling experience too. Things are a lot more scary when you're 28 than when you're 12. So
just like
so going.
We have no boundaries when we're
exactly.
little.
So going over jumps has been fun. I've been getting back into it. Yeah. So
That's
I'm
amazing.
really having fun. I'm really sore though. All my muscles are like.
It is a workout. It's definitely a workout. If anyone says otherwise, I beg to differ. It's definitely a workout. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention for a lot of the patients out there or the folks that are experiencing some sort of physical impedance or any sort of like physical restrictions, what's a good plan to put in place, like where they should go and seek help, and tell us a little bit more about what do you suggest for those folks?
So I always say the number one thing is do your research. I would be going online and looking for somebody who's in your area, number one, someone who's easy to get to, somebody who has good reviews. That's really important. So always read reviews. And then the last thing is most practitioners offer like a 15-minute free consultation, because you want to make sure that the person you're going to see has the same like values and treatment style as you. So you're both kind of getting what you want out of the treatment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen a bunch of practitioners before. For me, I feel like it's more of a level of comfort, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's intimate. It's
Exactly.
more comfort. Like you really need to just be able to trust the person to treat you properly and take you where you need to be, like on that journey to healing, for sure. Now, I did see something on Instagram a while, maybe a couple of days ago or so, with respect to those seminars that you're running, or some sort of like a workshop that you're running. Tell us a little bit more about those.
Right. So I recently started teaching mobility classes around the city. So they run out of Bodies by Phil twice a month. One is in Kanata at their Kanata location, and one is downtown at their Albert Street location. So those are just hour-long mobility sessions where I'll go through. We'll start with like the basics of why it's important to have good upper body mobility or lower body mobility, whatever the session's really focused on that day. So we go like behind with like the muscles that you need to release, the muscles that you need to activate, and I kind of just explain everything more anatomically. And then we go through ways to do that. So I teach people ways that they can incorporate into their normal routine or their normal like workout warm up. So hopefully that they won't get injured when they do it, and they'll have the best results doing like those certain lifts.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say that prevention is probably the best policy?
Yeah, I mean, being strong and activating the right muscles before a workout is like probably the best way to not get injured.
Yeah. And then that's the beauty about the seminars and then the mobility classes, is that you're actually getting all of that without necessarily having to spend an arm and a leg and getting into full treatment.
Exactly.
And you're doing it before you actually require treatment, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's been really good. So we're also offering one out of CrossFit Closer on October 14th, I believe.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I saw the invite for that one.
That one's going to be free. So for anybody who wants to come.
Don't let the name CrossFit intimidate you guys. It's just a mobility class. It's really good. It's for everyone. It's welcoming. And what I find so far, like I've worked with Dr. Remi, like I said, about a year and a half now. I always felt like, I never felt like a question is a bad question. I've never felt like, doing a certain move is wrong. There's just other ways to tweak it to make it much more healthier, much more, you're not harming yourself by doing it that 100%. Way, which is one of the reasons why I'm interviewing Dr. Remi here, and then just making sure that she's getting the business that she deserves, because honestly, she's fantastic. With that being said, how do people get in touch with you?
Okay, so my Instagram is kind of my main handle. So it's dr.r.pearl. So just the first initial of my name and then my last name.
And it's okay, guys, if you don't get it, we're going to leave all that information at the bottom.
So that's a really good way to contact me. Also, you can just Google me, Dr. Remi Pearl. You'll find all my different locations, which all have online booking if you're interested. And then Google reviews, you can find me there as well if you want to read a little bit about me and my philosophies. And then email as well, I guess.
Yep. Fantastic. And you mentioned now that we've talked about the locations. We've got the Hintonburg location, that's 29 Bayswater.
Yep.
The CrossFit location that, I don't know the address, but I know it's
103 Schneider Road.
There we go. And then Body by Phil, that's also in Kanata as well. Well, you have the two locations, Kanata, 484 Hazeldean, I think.
Yep.
And then the other one is on Albert Street.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you want to mention to the audience, Dr. Remi, as far as, life, as far as the motion is lotion, all of that sort of, if you want to leave them on a good note, what would you leave them with?
That's a good question. I would say just stay active, keep moving. The more you move, the better you'll feel. And if you ever need anything health-wise, come see me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And guys, please tune in and don't forget to subscribe. Kanata on the rocks. Thank you very much. Dr. Remi, thank you so much.